Do you ever look at the world as a 20 something and just see chaos and uncertainty and you honestly feel terrified? But then you notice moments of joy and growth around you as well. You reflect on your own achievements and you feel so proud of yourself, yet simultaneously question if you're doing enough. That constant anxiety about whether today's efforts will pay off tomorrow, well, let me tell you, you're not alone. These feelings are more common than you think, and they are very common when you are 20 something. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I am the Day J. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Probably clicked on this video as a 20 something year old experiencing life and just seeing how crazy it is. Don't get me wrong. I like being 20 something. I like being young. I like being out of high school and being able to just like start my own life. This time in life, I remember being young and people saying like your 20s are crazy, it's a time of discovery, trial and error, and boy were they not lying. I didn't really understand it at the time because like I wasn't thinking about these things. Like I'm young, not really worried about being 20 or 20 something. But now that I'm here, I'm like, whoa, this is what everyone's been talking about. And we're going to talk about all the tea today, what it means to be 20 something and like what it is, like what it feels like to be in the world and be 20 something and navigate all of this great stuff, all of the chaos, everything in between. And this is going to be a little chit chat, very much so chit chat, and a little get ready with me. I'm going to do my makeup. I'm not doing anything today, really just chilling, and I wanted to take some pictures, so we're gonna do our makeup. First, guys, I'm gonna do my eyebrows off of camera and then come back and give you guys my podcast description that I give at the beginning of every episode so that you guys can kind of understand the gist and the vibe of my podcast. So, one sec, I'll be right back. All right, so the eyebrows are done. They're acting a little funny today. They don't want to stay up, so if they go down while I'm filming, just act like you ain't seen nothing. Anyways, so I'm gonna give you guys a bit of a description and background of what my podcast is about and like where I'm coming from, where when I sit in front of the camera and talk to you guys about various topics, where am I coming from? So in this podcast, everything I talk about is revolving around being an outcast in my life. When I say outcast, I don't mean I don't have any friends. I don't mean like I'm rejected from society. I simply mean that just all my life I felt like an outcast one way or another. I just know that I'm different from my peers, and that's not me like bragging and like being like, "Hi, I'm better than my peers." Like, no, not like that. I usually just have like a different opinion, a different perspective, or a different outlook on life than my peers do. And I think a lot about like personal development, and I talk a lot about it as well. And I just don't hear my peers talking about personal development like I talk about personal development, guys. And I'm constantly trying to like improve myself and like so like also feeling like an outcast also ties in with like being a multiracial person. Growing up, I kind of felt like I couldn't fit into any one like friend group because let's be real, growing up when you're young, people tend to gravitate towards people who look like each other and who have like the same background, all of that. Sorry, someone is literally going to tip their fucking truck. Yo, that was insane. Anyways, so yeah, like growing up I couldn't fit into like one friend group because people usually gravitate towards people who are of the same ethnicity and stuff like that. And so when I would be a part of a friend group, sometimes people would call me too preppy, and then also like in certain other friend groups people would call me too ghetto. And so that's just another example of like an outcast. Also, coming from generations of poverty, I think has uniquely shaped me with a certain perspective and special insights that I would love to bring to light and to talk about here on YouTube. Also, just like navigating being like a first generation college student, a first person to do a lot of things in my family, the stress and anxiety that comes with like the unknown of the future and how that is tied in with my upbringing. And then of course, I talk a lot on here about social media and trends that I want to share my perspectives on, as well as like just things that I think should be talked about more. So that's what I'm doing here on my podcast. That's the kind of viewpoint I'm coming from. Let's get into why being a 20 something year old is just crazy. Life is crazy. And I don't even mean that all in a bad way. Like, there are obviously awesome, great aspects to life, but life is also crazy. It's so crazy. I really today wanted to talk about like relationships, both friendships and romantic ones, I also wanted to talk about like career and like passions and all of that. And if you see me looking off to the side, I just have my iPad here with notes. Cause yes, this is a chit chat video, but if I get off track, we'll be right off track and I'll forget like what I was even talking about. I really want to start off talking about like friendships and why I feel like they are in a way they get harder to like navigate when you enter your 20s because when we are young, we're in school and we're like it's easy to socialize. You're around people, you're around your peers every single day. And so it's really easy to just socialize with people because you're kind of forced to in a way, like in a very slight way, you're kind of forced to. Whereas in your 20s, some people don't go to school, other people go to school, some people work, some people don't. And so you're not always in an environment where it's very easy to just like connect with people, especially like-minded people, especially like right after high school. Even in high school, like people are growing, people are changing, and like yeah, physically, but I'm really talking about mentally. Like people during this time of being in your 20s, entering your 20s, people change a lot, whether it's for the good or for the worse. Like people are just changing a lot. And so it can be really hard to navigate like old friendships where you guys connected through school. But now like maybe you guys split apart, maybe one of you guys are in school, one of you guys aren't, and so it's like hard to connect because maybe you guys don't have as many things in common anymore. You guys are going on different routes and everything, and I'm really just noticing that in my own life. But also with that too, like it's okay to have friends that are different from you, that are doing different things. That's totally okay. I just think like when we're young, we naturally gravitate towards people who are the same as us or that are similar because that's just what happens, right? Another thing is like we're young, right? And I feel like in high school, middle school, like there's like little petty dramas, little petty beefs or whatever that happen. But then once you grow up and you mature, there are some like other complications that can happen, in a friendship. And we're so young that a lot of us, like, not even that we're so young, a lot of us just have not practiced or haven't worked on our communication enough to where, like, it can be hard to communicate even with our friends, like, what's going on, what we're feeling, and things like that. And because, like, it's a new era in our life, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it can be just add more stress onto the plate. And I think that's why people end up like falling out in their 20s because A, everyone has a lot of stuff going on, and B, people are coming to the realization of like what they actually want out of friendships and relationships. And so they come to these realizations and they realize that like maybe like the friends that I've had in my life for the last decade aren't matching up with the type of friends that I want to have in my life now. Right? And I want you to like be careful with that because I'm not the type to be like, oh, like you're not doing this is not, you're not doing what I'm doing, I can't be your friend. I'm not that type of person. I'm not advocating for that. I just think that if you are like the person doing things, like maybe you are like in school and stuff like that, and maybe you have a friend that's not, like there might have to be like some boundaries set of like, hey, like I can't stay out past this time because I have to be up for school in the morning, I have an exam in the morning. Or like maybe like even like you're going to school to be a nurse and maybe your friend is into like smoking or something like that, and obviously as a nurse or practicing to be a nurse you cannot smoke anything like that. So like maybe you ask them, like, you have this boundary set, like, hey, like when you're around me, can you please not do that? Just certain little things like that. Little boundaries need to be set in certain situations so that friendships can continue on. So it's just like when we're 20, when we enter our 20s, we're often more busy. We're in school, we're working full time. Maybe some of us have a family, X, Y, and Z. And so we become super busy. And it wasn't like it was before where we had to get up and go to school and we just instantly saw our friends. Or back then, maybe some of us didn't have a job in high school. And so it was just easy to have a whole bunch of free time, stuff like that. And so it's just like hard to like keep those friendships intact, especially when those friendships were based off of like school and stuff like that, or like sports, anything like that, where it's like it was easy to like come across this person because you guys were in the same environment doing the same thing. right? And so I just think like as adults, as people that like are becoming more busy and stuff like that, like first of all, communication. We have to learn communication, communicating with people like, hey, like I know I haven't seen you in a while. I'm super sorry. I've been super busy with X, Y, and Z. Let's set up a date to do X, Y, and Z. And I think a lot of people have to like it's really weird for people who are just entering their 20s because they're so used to like seeing their friends on a weekly basis. But sometimes in your 20s, it's more so like on a monthly basis. Maybe you don't see your friends as much as you did in high school or even in college. Or for me, like I'm in college and whatnot, and I don't see my friends nearly as much as I did in high school. And at first, that was just so hard for me. I was extremely depressed, and I just couldn't like understand. At first, like I was like, no, like I had it in my head like that my friends didn't like me, they didn't want to hang out with me, but really what it was that I wasn't making like that extra effort to see them because I was just so busy. But I had to realize like if I really want to see my friends, I have to set a date and I have to plan and I have to make sure that I'm going to make it X, Y, and Z. It doesn't matter how busy I am. It doesn't matter about none of that because if you really want something to happen, you're going to make it happen. The positioning is a little different. My boyfriend called, so I had to move my phone. But I was talking about how when we're in our 20s and when we're growing up and whatnot, we naturally become more busy. And I think being busy is sometimes an excuse we can make to like not see our friends. But like if you really think about it, it's not an excuse because we're 9 times out of 10 like always gonna be busy. I realize that like bro, from now on, like my entire life, like I'm going to be busy. So like what's the point of even making that excuse to not see someone? Yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. Because really, bro, like if you can schedule time to like go get your nails done, get your hair done, go shopping, things like that, you can schedule time to go and see your friends. You know what I mean? It really does take a little bit more extra effort, things like that. It does. Don't get me wrong, because you have more things on your schedule, more things you have to like allocate to all of that. So I definitely understand that it is way harder, but I don't like people using the excuse of like, oh, I'm so busy when they never see their friends. Like, chow, you got enough time to go get that lace front wig done though. I don't want to hear that. It is very hard, and even I still struggle with it. It's also hard too because everyone has different schedules, right? So trying to figure out a day can be a little frustrating. It can be a little frustrating. Another thing is, y'all, like, I don't think we realize that, like, we're in our 20s now, and it's very much possible that our friends can get into a serious relationship. And a lot of girls don't want to hear that, especially if they single. A lot of girls don't want to hear that. But let me tell you something. I feel like when we're in our teens, whatever, we're young, we don't really know that much about relationships. But I feel like as we get into our 20s and whatever, we are most people, I would say, are trying to find somebody that they want to be with for the rest of their lives, right? And so with that being said, I'm going to say this. I do not condone. I do not agree with girls in like a friend group getting mad at their friend for spending more time for their boyfriend with their boyfriend. I'm sorry. I honestly just don't agree. When like if the dude is treating her right, it's a good relationship, all of that. Because if you think about it, right, this person could very much well be your husband. And if he is, how it works is like you literally live with your husband, you spend time with your husband. And on top of that, you have to get to know this person, right? You most likely already know your friends. You got to get to know your partner, somebody you're going to spend your life with, split your bills with, all of that. So, like, when girls, like, let's say they're in a friendship or in a friend group, whatever, they're hanging out with their friends, and then they get a boyfriend, and then maybe they don't come around as often. I'm not the type to get mad about that because that's just natural. I think in my eyes, it's just natural, bro. Like you can't really now if like she goes to like cut y'all off, don't talk to y'all, start acting funny, that's a whole different story. And I will say like putting your boyfriend first for everything, not doing certain things because oh my boyfriend said I can't do that. I don't do all of that. We ain't doing all of that, babes. You're your own person. You can do whatever you want. But I'm just simply speaking on just simply spending more time with your significant other than your friends. To me, that is okay. I don't see any problem in that, but a lot of people do. And I just don't agree. I don't know. And that can very much well be because I'm in a relationship. Who knows? Like, if I wasn't in a relationship, maybe I would think differently. Like, when you're trying to like hang out with your girls and like your friend is always trying to invite her man, that's another thing that I don't condone and I don't find okay, right? Like, when it's just strictly girls' time, don't try to invite your man. Like, there has to be obviously boundaries there. I wanted to talk a little bit about like romantic relationships, lovey-dovey relationships, things like that. Cause y'all know, well, maybe y'all don't know, like I'm in a relationship. Oopsies. We'll be going on 3 years in a few days. Yes, like I really can't believe it. But the thing about being in a romantic relationship in your 20s, just like everything else, it's difficult. Extremely difficult because you are two individuals that are constantly growing, constantly changing, but trying to like it's I don't want to say like live a life together because that's like marriage. I'm talking about like relationships. But at the same time, right? Like that's kind of what you do in a relationship. You're kind of two people trying to, in a way, navigate the world together and trying to like grow together in a way, right? It's just extremely difficult at this time because one way I can feel a way about something like on how to like navigate my relationship. And then the next day I feel differently because I have a different perspective and I grew and things are constantly changing. That's what seems constant in this video, or just being 20 or in your 20s, is that things are constantly changing. It's a little scary. The thing is, like, you don't even know yourself completely. And I would say, like, in the past, I was like, oh, you shouldn't even be in a relationship if you don't know yourself completely. Now I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think that there needs to be a certain level of maturity to be able to work on yourself while simultaneously being in a relationship and working and building on that relationship. It just takes an extra level of, like I said, maturity, self-awareness, to be able to be like, okay, here's what I have to work on. Here's the things I need to figure out about myself. But at the same time, like showing up for that other person you're in a relationship with, also showing up for the relationship, having conversations with your partner and trying to just make things the best they can be in that relationship. All of that together can be hard because that person is trying to work on themselves as well. And so it can become very like almost overwhelming in a way. You feel like you're like constantly having to like slow down, stop, analyze, and like reiterate things with yourself and with the relationship. And it's like, too, a lot of people don't understand that like you have to learn how to be, or you have to actively learn how to be a good partner. So if you are in a relationship and you don't really know what makes a good partner, which I'm sure you know like the basics, right? But there are more things that you have to do to be able to show up in that relationship to make sure that relationship thrives. It's a little difficult to like actively learn how to be a good partner while already being in that relationship. While that's why I kind of say like I kind of thought like you should do all this work prior, but at the same time I do think that you're able to simultaneously do them. It's just that have to have that maturity and that level of awareness, because if you aren't working on like actively being a better partner, it's just like inevitable that that relationship's going to crash, because you have to constantly like people are constantly changing, needs and wants are changing. You have to check in with your partner, make sure that they're okay, make sure that you're showing up for them how they need you to show up for them. And I truly think that's like a obligation. If you are in a relationship, it's your obligation to be able to show up for that person as best as you can, while also keeping yourself in mind and your boundaries, if that makes sense. Also, there's a lot of just like talk online about relationships. A lot of people talk or like just post like videos about like cheating stories or just like cheating videos. And it can like really, I would say, it's hard for me to say brainwash, because in a way, like I feel like I was brainwashed for so long to think that like all men are the same and that, like all men cheat and everything. But And that's because that's like a lot of like what's pushed in our face, especially through like pop culture, rappers, rapper baby mamas, all of that drama like really is pushed in our face a lot, especially in the Black community. And I feel like it can be hard to believe that there's someone out there that is going to treat you right. Trust me, it's very hard to believe, but I think you have to be careful with like, and I say this a lot, like you have to be careful with what you're consuming online, because you can start to subconsciously believe some of these things and like act them out in real life. So like if you're watching videos about cheaters, you might subconsciously start believe that like all men are cheaters, and then you might like when you go out, you might be very closed off. Your energy might be very closed off, so no one approaches you, and then you never end up finding that person that is going to treat you right. So another thing I wanted to talk about is like navigating your lifestyle and like lifestyle changes, because it's like natural. I feel like it's natural in your 20s to want to like upgrade your lifestyle, upgrade how you are treating yourself, your life, your habits, your routines. I feel like it's natural to want to do that because you're on your own now. You're figuring out like what you like and like what works for you. And then also maybe for some of us, like we're not in a certain environment anymore, so we're able to like thrive and be the best we can be, right? So that comes with obviously lifestyle change. But the thing is, like, for so long, for a lot of us, we were doing unhealthy things, eating unhealthy foods, not working out, consuming bad content, all of that stuff we were doing for so long. So once we reach our 20s and we try to change those things, it can be extremely, extremely difficult, especially if you don't have anyone in your immediate family who is doing who is making these lifestyle changes with you, or who has made these changes in the past. It can be extremely hard when you have no one to look up to, no one to get advice from or guidance from. Trust me. It can be hard to like even figure out like what even works for you as far as like lifestyle changes, diets, working out. It can be so hard because there's so much noise online. There's also so much like pressure online to like do certain things, do certain workouts, live a certain lifestyle, right? Like even like the content creator influencer lifestyle, I think has been pushed on so many people. So many people think that that's what they want to do, when really they don't even understand that that's not really what they want. They really just want the time freedom and the money that comes with it, but they don't want to actually create the content. But some people just generally believe like, oh, I'm gonna be a content creator because that's what I see everyone else doing and they're getting rich off of it. But it's like you have to figure out what you actually like and what you actually have passion for, instead of just listening to everyone online. Also, like, aside from like lifestyle changes, just understanding like what you want your lifestyle to be in general, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. Do you want to be a minimalistic person? Do you want to be a maximalist? Do you want to be rich? Do you want to be comfortable? You know what I mean? It can be hard to even know like what do you even want out of life. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, for so long I thought I wanted to be super rich, and like that idea is not like it's not gone, it's not completely discarded, but I kind of just opened up room for other possibilities. Like maybe I'm not completely rich, but I'm super comfortable. Like maybe that's what I end up wanting to do. I don't really know. I'm really in this place right now of like figuring out what that looks like, because it's like ah I just don't know. For so long, like I said, I wanted to be super rich, but then I realized like what came with all of that in most situations. And so I was like, maybe I don't, maybe I do. And that's another thing about life. That's the beauty of life, is that like you can live like five different lifestyles in one lifetime. You can be very minimalistic, live in a one bedroom apartment, have only the things you absolutely need for a decade of your life. And then the next decade of your life, you live in a mansion with a lot of stuff you actually don't really need, but you're just living it up and having fun. You know what I mean? And so that's what I feel like the beauty of life is. And I'm actually glad I just said that out loud, because I just kind of like reiterated to myself that like you don't have to pick one lifestyle. You can try out one. If that one doesn't work for you, you can pivot to the next. You know what I mean? And I think in our 20s, there's just like a lot of like unspoken pressure of like to figure out what we want to do in our career and all of that. Even when it doesn't relate to college and like picking your major, there's just a lot of pressure of like what to do, because I feel like a lot of us think, we have this like idea in our mind that whatever we pick, we have to do for the rest of our lives. But that's not true. And we see it all the time. We see people all the time making career changes and pivoting and doing new things. So I like to just remind myself that, like, knowing me, like, there's so many things I want to do in this lifetime, so many. And I keep reminding myself that, like, yes, time is limited, but at the same time, there's a lot of time, and you will be able to do and try out all of these things. But the reason why I brought up like figuring out what type of lifestyle you want, because I do genuinely think during this time it is crucial to figure that out, because during this time that's when you're going to start to create a plan to, you know, be able to build this lifestyle that you want. So like if you don't know what lifestyle you want at this time, you won't even be able to like be like, okay, here's my plan to get there, right? You won't really have a plan. Some sort of idea of what you see yourself, what you vision your lifestyle as, can just help you understand what you need to do right now in the present to get there. But yeah, y'all. So that's all I have to talk about with you guys today. If you guys not have checked out my previous video, it's all about personal style. It's actually my first like fashion slash style video I've posted in a very, very long time. So if you're interested in talking personal style and hearing my style tips, go check out that last previous video on my channel. Once this video is uploaded on my channel a week from today, I'll have a regular YouTube video uploaded. Also, if you guys want to hear specific topics from me, if you guys want me to talk about something specific, drop it in my comments, leave me a DM on Instagram, anything, whatever works for you. Also, just like comment what you guys think about my content. I really love feedback. I'm really just trying to get better with every upload. So, yes, if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye. I was counting up on a private flight.